The diplomatic vessel, Horizon's Bridge, pierced Taraxis's atmosphere, its hull gleaming under the twin suns. Inside the ship's command center, Ambassador Connor Lewis stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the approaching alien landscape. The planet's surface, a blend of deep purples and vibrant greens, expanded rapidly in their view, growing larger with each passing second. "Final approach initiated," announced the pilot, his voice steady despite the palpable tension. "Touchdown in 3 minutes." Connor nodded, his fingers instinctively adjusting the cuffs of his meticulously pressed suit. This wasn't just another diplomatic mission. The rare mineral deposits on Taraxis could revolutionize human space travel, propelling mankind further into the cosmos. As the ship descended, Connor addressed his team. "Remember, we're here to negotiate, not to beg. The Taraxians need us as much as we need them. Stay sharp, stay focused." The landing was smooth, a testament to both the pilot's skill and the advanced stabilization systems of the Horizon's Bridge. As the engines powered down, Connor took a deep breath, centering himself for the task ahead. The airlock hissed open, revealing a delegation of Taraxian officials waiting on the landing pad. Their tall, slender forms were draped in flowing robes that shimmered in the alien sunlight. Connor stepped forward, his team falling in line behind him. "Greetings, esteemed representatives of Earth," the lead Taraxian spoke, its multifaceted eyes reflecting the sunlight in a dazzling display. "I am High Counselor Arzatha. Welcome to Taraxis." Connor bowed slightly, a gesture of respect his team mirrored. "High Counselor, I am Ambassador Connor Lewis. On behalf of the United Earth Directorate, we thank you for your hospitality." As they walked towards the imposing structure that would serve as their negotiation headquarters, Connor's trained eye took in every detail. The Taraxian architecture was a blend of organic shapes and crystalline structures, creating an otherworldly beauty that was both captivating and slightly unsettling. Inside, they were led to a vast chamber. The walls seemed to pulse with an inner light, creating an atmosphere that was simultaneously calming and energizing. Connor noted how the room's design subtly directed attention to the central table, a clever architectural trick to maintain focus during negotiations. "Please be seated," Arzatha gestured. "We have much to discuss." As they settled into their seats, Connor activated his neural implant, establishing a secure connection with his team. A wave of data flooded his mind. Resource projections, negotiation strategies, and cultural insights. He blinked twice, processing the information in milliseconds. "High Counselor," Connor began, his voice carrying a warmth that belied the high stakes of the meeting. "We're eager to explore the potential of a mutually beneficial arrangement regarding the Zenithium deposits on your world." Arzatha's expression remained unreadable, but there was a slight shift in posture that Connor's trained eye didn't miss. "Ah, yes. The Zenithium. A remarkable substance, is it not? We're curious about your sudden interest in our modest resources." Connor smiled, recognizing the opening move in what promised to be a complex negotiation dance. "Modest. I think we both know that's an understatement, High Counselor. Zenithium could revolutionize space travel for both our species. Imagine the possibilities of faster-than-light travel becoming commonplace." As Connor spoke, holographic displays flickered to life around the table, showcasing advanced propulsion systems and theoretical star maps. The human team had prepared these presentations meticulously, each image and simulation designed to appeal to the Taraxians' known fascination with efficiency and progress. "Impressive projections," another Taraxian official commented, leaning forward to study the holograms. "But surely, you don't expect us to simply hand over such a valuable resource?" Connor's smile didn't waver. "Of course not. We're prepared to offer a comprehensive exchange. Technology, medical advancements, cultural artifacts, a true interspecies collaboration." For the next several hours, the negotiations unfolded like an intricate game of chess. Connor and his team presented their offers, each carefully crafted to address known Taraxian interests while safeguarding Earth's position. The Taraxians countered with their own proposals, some reasonable, others clearly probing for weaknesses. Throughout it all, Connor's mind raced, analyzing every word, every subtle shift in body language. His neural implant provided real-time updates and suggestions from his team, allowing him to adjust his strategy on the fly. As the first round of talks concluded, Connor felt cautiously optimistic. The Taraxians seemed genuinely interested, even if they were playing their cards close to their chest. As they stood to adjourn for the day, Arzatha approached Connor. "Ambassador, we would be honored if you and your team would join us for a ceremonial feast this evening. It's a tradition among our people when welcoming distinguished guests." Connor nodded, recognizing both the honor and the opportunity the invitation presented. "We would be delighted, High Counselor." As they were led to their quarters to refresh before the evening's events, Connor gathered his team for a quick debrief. "Initial impressions?" he asked, his gaze sweeping across the room. Dr. Donna Gray, the team's xenobiologist, spoke first. "They're interested, but there's something off. Did you notice how they avoided specifics about the Zenithium's properties?" Major Jack Harrison, head of security, nodded in agreement. "And their security measures seem excessive for a simple diplomatic meeting. I counted at least 3 layers of scanning tech we passed through on our way in." Connor absorbed their observations, filing them away for later analysis. "Keep your eyes open during the feast. This is as much a part of the negotiation as our formal talks. Look for opportunities to gather more information, but remember, we're guests here. No unnecessary risks." As evening fell, casting Taraxis's twin moons into stark relief against the darkening sky, Connor and his team made their way to the grand hall. The feast was a sensory spectacle. Exotic aromas filled the air, while strange melodic music played from unseen sources. Taraxian dignitaries mingled with the human delegation, engaging in what seemed like casual conversation, but was, in reality, a continuation of the day's negotiations. Connor moved through the crowd with practiced ease, his charm and quick wit earning smiles and nods from the alien officials. During a lull in the conversations, High Counselor Arzatha approached Connor, a strange, iridescent drink in hand. "Ambassador, I trust you're enjoying our hospitality." Connor accepted the offered drink with a gracious nod. "Indeed, High Counselor. Your world continues to amaze us with its beauty and sophistication." Arzatha's multifaceted eyes seemed to shimmer with an unreadable emotion. "We are pleased to hear it. Tell me, Ambassador, how far has humanity ventured into the cosmic ocean?" The question seemed innocent enough, but Connor's instincts prickled. He took a small sip of the drink, buying time to formulate his response. The liquid was cool and refreshing, with an underlying complexity that hinted at flavors he couldn't quite place. "We've established colonies in several neighboring systems," Connor replied, his tone casual, yet carefully measured. "But with advancements in propulsion technology, the kind Zenithium could provide, who knows how far we might reach?" Arzatha nodded slowly. "Indeed, the universe is vast, full of wonders and dangers. One must be cautious when venturing into unknown territories." Before Connor could probe deeper into that cryptic statement, another Taraxian official approached, drawing Arzatha away. Connor watched them go, his mind working to decipher the subtext of their brief exchange. As the night wore on, Connor and his team continued to gather bits and pieces of information, each seemingly insignificant detail potentially crucial to their mission. The Taraxians were skilled hosts, their hospitality impeccable, yet there was an undercurrent of something. Tension? Anticipation? Connor couldn't quite put his finger on it. Back in the privacy of his quarters that night, Connor prepared his initial report to Earth. His fingers flew over the holographic keyboard as he composed his message. Day 1 negotiations concluded. Taraxians receptive but guarded, sensing underlying tension, cause unknown. Potential security concerns noted. Proceeding with caution. Requesting additional background intel on Taraxian political structure and recent interstellar activities. Will update as situation develops. Ambassador Lewis, out. As he sent the encrypted message hurtling through subspace, Connor couldn't shake the feeling that they were missing something crucial. The Zenithium deposits were just the surface. There was a deeper game being played here. Staring out at the alien moons hanging low in the Taraxian sky, Connor steeled himself for the challenges ahead. Tomorrow would bring another round of negotiations, another step in this high-stakes diplomatic dance, and with each step, they would get closer to the truth. whatever it might be. 2 weeks after the initial landing on Taraxis, the orbital station Sentinel's Watch hummed with activity at the edge of the system. Mission leader, Colonel Jonah Higachi, stood before the holographic display, his face bathed in the soft blue glow of incoming transmissions. "Latest update from Ambassador Lewis, sir," Communications Officer Trent reported, his fingers dancing across the console. Higachi nodded, eyes scanning the message. The negotiations appeared to be progressing smoothly, with Connor reporting steady gains in their talks with the Taraxians. Yet an inexplicable unease nagged at Higachi's gut. "Play back the last 3 transmissions," he ordered, voice gruff from sleepless nights. As the messages flickered before him, he listened intently, searching for any anomaly. Suddenly, he froze. "Wait, rewind that last part." The hologram shimmered, replaying Connor's words. "And as always, send my regards to Layla and the kids." Higachi's blood ran cold. Connor Lewis was unmarried and childless. "Trent, run a full-spectrum analysis on these transmissions, now." As Trent worked, Higachi's mind raced. This wasn't a mere slip-up. It was a coded distress signal. Connor was alerting them to a serious problem. "Sir," Trent's voice cracked with tension, "the analysis shows micro-variations in the subspace carrier wave. These messages, they're not originating from the ambassador's personal comm unit." Higachi's fist clenched. "Assemble the rapid response team. Briefing in 5 minutes." In the station's secure conference room, Higachi addressed his hand-picked team. "Gentlemen, we have a critical situation. Ambassador Lewis and his team may be compromised. We're going in." Captain Logan Church, head of the response team, leaned forward. "What's our intel, sir?" "Limited," Higachi admitted. "But the last transmission from the ambassador contained a distress code. We're operating under the assumption that the entire diplomatic team is in danger." The room tensed, each man acutely aware of the gravity of the situation. "Our primary objective is reconnaissance," Higachi continued. "We need eyes on the ground without alerting the Taraxians. Captain Church, your team will approach the planet using the binary star system for cover. The intense solar radiation should mask your approach." Church nodded, his mind already formulating tactical options. "Remember," Higachi's voice hardened, "we're dealing with an unknown threat level. Stealth is paramount. If the Taraxians have turned hostile, we can't risk triggering an interstellar incident without concrete evidence." Within hours, the stealth shuttle, Shadow Whisper, detached from Sentinel's Watch, its hull designed to absorb and deflect sensor scans. As they approached Taraxis, the twin suns cast long, shifting shadows across the planet's surface, providing natural cover for their approach. "Entering upper atmosphere," Church reported, his hands steady on the controls. "No sign of detection so far." The shuttle descended, using the planet's magnetic field to further mask their presence. As they neared the coordinates of the diplomatic compound, an uneasy silence fell over the team. "I've got visual on the compound," announced Sergeant Jones, the team's sensor specialist. "No signs of activity. Wait, the diplomatic shuttle isn't at the designated landing pad?" Church frowned. "Can you get a fix on its location?" Jones's fingers flew over his console. "Negative, sir. No transponder signal within range." "All right. Maintain altitude and begin wide spectrum scans. Look for any anomalies, any sign of our people." For hours, they circled the compound, gathering data while staying hidden in the atmospheric turbulence. Each passing moment ratcheted up the tension. "Sir," Jones's voice cut through the silence. "I'm picking up a faint signal. It's the emergency beacon from the diplomatic shuttle's black box." Church leaned over Jones's shoulder, studying the readout. "Location? Approximately 50 kilometers north of the compound, sir. In a ravine." Church jaw clenched. "Take us in, low and slow. Be ready for anything." As they approached the ravine, the twisted wreckage of the diplomatic shuttle came into view. The once sleek vessel was now a charred husk, partially buried in the alien soil. "No signs of life," Jones reported, his voice hollow. Church made a quick decision. "We're going down. Prep for hostile engagement." The team descended into the ravine, their suits providing protection against the harsh Taraxian atmosphere. As they approached the wreckage, The full extent of the devastation became clear. "Sir," one of the team members called out, his voice shaking, "I've found remains." Church steeled himself as he approached. The scene before him was one of unimaginable horror. The diplomatic team lay scattered among the wreckage, their bodies bearing witness to a violent end. "Secure the black box," Church ordered, his voice tight with controlled fury. "We need to know what happened here." As the team worked to extract the data core, Church contacted the Sentinel's watch. "Higachi, this is Church. We found the shuttle. Sir, there are no survivors. I repeat, no survivors." Back on the station, Higachi's face paled. "Understood, Captain. What's the status of the black box?" "We're extracting it now. Stand by for data upload." Minutes later, the black box's contents flashed across the screens in Sentinel's Watch Command Center. The final moments of the diplomatic mission played out in stark, horrifying detail. The video showed Connor and his team, their faces masks of confusion and fear, as Taraxian guards stormed into the negotiation chamber. There was no warning, no explanation, just a swift, brutal attack. The last image was of Connor, reaching for the emergency beacon before the feed cut out. Higachi watched in stunned silence, his hands gripping the console so tightly his knuckles turned white. When he finally spoke, his voice was ice. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command. Priority Alpha." As the subspace channel crackled to life, Higachi took a deep breath. "This is Colonel Jonah Higachi, mission leader of the diplomatic negotiation with the Taraxians. We have a code black situation. The Taraxian government has betrayed us. Ambassador Lewis and the entire diplomatic team are dead, requesting immediate action and full military response." The response was immediate. "Understood, Higachi. Hold position and stand by for further orders. Earth Command out." As the channel closed, Higachi turned to his crew, their faces a mix of shock, grief, and barely contained rage. "Prepare for incoming reinforcements," he ordered. "And may God have mercy on the Taraxians, because we won't." The die was cast. In the cold expanse of space, the gears of war began to turn, fueled by human vengeance and the unshakable resolve to right this cosmic wrong. As the gravity of the situation settled over the Sentinel's watch, Higachi's mind raced with the implications of their discovery. The betrayal of the Taraxians wasn't just a diplomatic incident. It was an act of war against humanity. The carefully cultivated peace between their species had been shattered in an instant, replaced by a chasm of distrust and the promise of retribution. Higachi called his senior staff to the command center. As they gathered, the tension in the room was palpable. Each face bore the weight of their grim discovery. "Gentlemen," Higachi began, his voice steady despite the tension in the room, "we're facing a critical situation. Our next actions will significantly impact our relations with the Taraxians and potentially other alien races in this sector." He turned to his tactical officer. "Lieutenant Brody, what's our current defensive posture?" Brody stepped forward, his movements crisp. "Sir, we've raised our shields and armed all weapon systems. Long-range scanners are at maximum sensitivity, watching for any approaching Taraxian vessels." Higachi nodded. "Good. We need to be prepared for any eventuality. The Taraxians may not know we've uncovered their treachery yet, but that won't last long." He turned to his communications officer next. "Trent, I want you to compile all the data we've gathered. The doctored transmissions, the black box footage, everything. Encrypt it and prepare it for transmission to Earth Command. We need to provide them with all the evidence to justify our actions." As Trent set to work, Higachi addressed the room at large. "Make no mistake, we are now in a state of war, but we will not strike blindly. We are humans. We act with purpose, with strategy, and with the full weight of justice behind us." The crew straightened, their resolve strengthening with Higachi's words. This was why they had trained, why they had ventured into the depths of space. To protect humanity, no matter the cost. "Captain Church," Higachi continued, "I want your team to continue reconnaissance. We need to know if there are any other human prisoners, any other victims of this betrayal. Use every trick in the book to stay undetected, but get us that intel." Church nodded grimly. Understood, sir. We'll find out what those bastards are hiding. As the meeting dispersed, each officer rushing to their assigned tasks, Higachi remained at the command console. He pulled up the last image they had of Ambassador Connor Lewis, captured moments before the attack. The determination in Connor's eyes, even in the face of certain death, steeled Higachi's resolve. "We'll make this right, old friend," he murmured. "Whatever it takes." Hours passed, filled with feverish activity. The Sentinel's watch hummed with a new energy, part fear, part anger, but overwhelmingly a sense of purpose. Every crew member knew the stakes, understood that their actions in the coming days would echo across the stars. As Earth Command processed the information and formulated their response, Higachi and his team worked tirelessly to gather more intelligence. They intercepted Taraxian communications, analyzed patrol patterns, and mapped out key strategic locations on the planet's surface. Captain Church's team, still planet-side, moved like ghosts across the Taraxian landscape. They discovered hidden military installations, weapons caches that far exceeded anything the Taraxians had disclosed during diplomatic exchanges. It painted a picture of a civilization preparing for war long before the human delegation had arrived. As the evidence mounted, a chilling realization settled over the Sentinel's watch. This wasn't a sudden betrayal, a decision made in haste. The Taraxians had planned this, had lured humanity in with promises of cooperation and mutual benefit, all while sharpening the knife they intended to plunge into Earth's back. Just as Higachi was reviewing the latest intel from Church Team, a priority transmission from Earth Command cut through the air. "Mission Leader Higachi, this is Admiral Bjorn Olafsson of Earth Defense Force. Your report has been received and verified. The Council has made its decision." Higachi straightened, feeling the weight of history on his shoulders. "We're ready to receive our orders, Admiral." Admiral Olafsson's voice was firm, carrying the full authority of Earth's leadership. "Operation Backlash is hereby initiated. You are authorized to take all necessary actions to neutralize the Taraxian threat and secure justice for our fallen. Reinforcements are en route, ETA 48 hours. Until then, you have full autonomy to act as you see fit." "Understood, Admiral. We won't let you down." As the transmission ended, Higachi turned to his crew. The command center fell silent, all eyes on their leader. "You heard the Admiral," Higachi's voice rang out, clear and resolute. "We have our orders. The next 48 hours will determine the outcome of this conflict. Each of you knows your duty. We will strike with precision, with purpose, and with the full might of humanity behind us." He paused, looking each crew member in the eye. "The Taraxians thought they could betray us, that they could strike us down and we would crumble. They were wrong. We are mankind. We have faced extinction, conquered our own world, and reached for the stars. We do not break, we do not yield, and we do not forget." A chorus of affirmations echoed through the command center. The crew of the Sentinel's watch stood ready, their resolve unshakable. "Prepare for combat operations," Higachi ordered. "We strike at dawn." As the Sentinel's watch came alive with preparations for the coming battle, Higachi's mind raced with strategic possibilities. The weight of command pressed on him, but his resolve remained unshaken. He analyzed their strengths, their weaknesses, and the unknown variables of the conflict ahead. Humanity had faced challenges before, and each time they had adapted and overcome. This time would be no different. This betrayal would not go unanswered. The Taraxians had made a grave mistake in underestimating the human spirit. They would learn, as so many others had before them, that humanity was a force to be reckoned with. In the cold expanse of space, aboard the Sentinel's watch, the first flames of human retribution began to burn. The coming dawn would bring not just the light of Taraxis's twin suns, but the fiery judgment of a species wronged, a people united in their quest for justice. The first rays of Taraxis's twin suns had barely crested the horizon when the Sentinel's watch erupted into a flurry of activity. Colonel Higachi stood at the command center, his eyes fixed on the holographic display as it flickered to life, revealing a fleet of human warships emerging from hyperspace. "Reinforcements have arrived, sir," Lieutenant Brody announced, his voice tight with anticipation. Higachi nodded, his jaw set in grim determination. "Patch me through to the fleet commander." The holographic display shifted. revealing the stern visage of Admiral Anton Mitchell. "Colonel Higachi, this is Admiral Mitchell. We're ready to commence Operation Backlash on your mark." "Understood, Admiral. Our intelligence suggests the Taraxians are unaware of our discovery. We have the element of surprise." Mitchell's eyes narrowed. "Then let's make it count. What's your assessment of the situation on the ground?" Higachi swiftly outlined the intel gathered by Captain Church's team. The hidden military installations, the excessive weapons caches, and the strategic weak points they'd identified. "Excellent work, Colonel," Mitchell commended. "We'll coordinate our orbital strikes with your ground assault. Remember, our primary targets are military installations and leadership compounds. Civilian casualties are to be avoided at all costs." "Agreed, Admiral. We're not here for vengeance. We're here for justice." As the communication ended, Higachi turned to his crew. "This is it, people. The moment we've been preparing for. Captain Church, prepare your ground teams for deployment. Lieutenant Brody, coordinate with the fleet for precision strikes on the targets we've identified." The Sentinel's Watch, once a stationary outpost, now became the nerve center of a complex military operation. Data streams flowed in from the incoming fleet, merging with the intel gathered by Church's team to create a real-time battle map of Taraxis. In orbit, the human fleet took up strategic positions, their sleek hulls reflecting the light of the twin suns. On Higachi's command, the first salvo was launched. Not explosives, but a barrage of electromagnetic pulses designed to disable Taraxian communications and defense systems. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the planet's surface, Taraxian military installations went dark, their advanced weapons systems rendered useless in the blink of an eye. "EMP strike successful," Brody reported. "Taraxian defensive grid is offline." Higachi's eyes narrowed. "Now we strike. Admiral Mitchell, you have a green light for orbital bombardment of military targets. From the orbiting warships, precision-guided energy beams lanced down through the atmosphere, striking key military installations with surgical accuracy. Weapons depots, command centers, and airfields erupted in carefully controlled explosions, minimizing collateral damage while crippling the Taraxian military infrastructure. On the ground, Captain Church led the first wave of dropships, their hulls glowing red-hot as they pierced the atmosphere. They landed in pre-designated zones, disgorging squads of heavily armed human soldiers. "Ground teams deployed and advancing," Church's voice crackled over the comm. Encountering minimal resistance, the Taraxians were caught completely off guard. Higachi watched the tactical display, his mind racing as he coordinated the multi-pronged assault. Human forces moved with precision and purpose, securing key locations and neutralizing pockets of Taraxian resistance. "Sir," Brody called out, "we're picking up frantic communications from the Taraxian leadership. They're in disarray, trying to mount a counteroffensive." "Not if we can help it," Higachi growled. "Admiral Mitchell, focus your next strikes on these coordinates. Cut off their ability to regroup." As the battle raged on, Higachi couldn't help but feel a grim satisfaction. The Taraxians had underestimated humanity, believing they could betray them with impunity. Now, they were learning the costly lesson that humanity was not to be trifled with. Hours into the assault, with much of the Taraxian military infrastructure in ruins, reports began flooding in from the ground teams. Captain Church's voice crackled over the comm. "Colonel, we've secured the primary military bases and government buildings in the capital. The Taraxian forces are in full retreat." Higachi nodded, his eyes scanning the holographic battle map. "Excellent work, Captain. What's the status of civilian areas?" "Minimal collateral damage, sir," Church reported. "Our precision strikes and ground tactics have kept civilian casualties to near zero. The local population seems more confused than anything else." "Good," Higachi replied. "Maintain that approach. We're here for the leadership and military, not the civilians." As the human forces continued to advance, the true extent of the Taraxian military's collapse became apparent. What had seemed like an advanced, cohesive fighting force during the initial diplomatic encounters was now revealed to be a paper tiger, crumbling under the weight of humanity's focused assault. "Sir," Lieutenant Brody called out, his voice tinged with surprise. "We're detecting a massive energy surge from what appears to be an underground facility near the capital." Higachi's brow furrowed. Show me. The holographic display zoomed in on a nondescript area just outside the Taraxian capital. Beneath the surface, sensors revealed a sprawling complex that hadn't been on any of their initial scans. It looks like they're powering up some kind of weapon system, Brody reported, his fingers flying over the console. Energy readings are off the charts. Higachi's mind raced. This had to be the Taraxians' last-ditch effort, a hidden trump card they'd kept in reserve. Alert Admiral Mitchell. We need to keep an eye on that facility while we continue our primary objectives. Now, as the battle continued to unfold, Higachi made a decision. Prepare my shuttle, he commanded. I'm heading planetside. His officers exchanged worried glances. Sir, Brody protested, it's still too dangerous. We haven't fully secured. Higachi cut him off with a raised hand. This operation is too critical to manage from orbit. I need to be on the ground to coordinate our forces and deal with any unexpected developments. Within minutes, Higachi's shuttle was streaking through Taraxis's war-torn atmosphere. As they descended, he could see the results of their precision strikes, smoking craters where military installations once stood, contrasted sharply with untouched civilian areas. They touched down at a forward command post that Captain Church had established. As Higachi stepped out of the shuttle, he was greeted by the sounds and smells of a battlefield, the distant rumble of explosions, the acrid scent of weapons fire. Church was there to meet him, his armor scuffed and scorched from recent combat. Welcome to Taraxis, Colonel, he said with a grim smile. It's a whole different world down here. Higachi nodded, taking in the scene around him. Human soldiers moved with purpose, securing equipment and processing captured Taraxian personnel. In the distance, he could see the gleaming spires of the Taraxian capital, now partially obscured by smoke from the ongoing battle. Status report, Captain, Higachi demanded as they moved towards the command center. Church fell into step beside him. We've secured roughly 70% of the capital and surrounding military installations. The Taraxian military is in disarray, but we're encountering pockets of fierce resistance, especially around government buildings. As they entered the command center, a holographic map sprang to life, showing the current battle lines and troop movements. Higachi studied it intently, his mind already formulating new strategies. And what about this underground facility? He asked, pointing to the location Brody had identified earlier. Church's expression darkened. That's the tough nut, sir. We've got it surrounded, but our scans can't penetrate deep enough to give us a clear picture of what's inside. Whatever they're powering up in there, it's big. Higachi's jaw set in determination. We'll deal with that soon enough. For now, our priority is to secure the site of the diplomatic massacre. We need to gather all the evidence we can. Church nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. I've got a team standing by, sir. They're our best, experienced in forensics and evidence collection. Good, Higachi replied. I'll lead the team myself. This is too important to delegate. As they prepared to move out, Higachi received another update from orbit. Admiral Mitchell's voice came through, tense, but controlled. Colonel, we've neutralized the last of their orbital defenses. The space around Taraxis is secure. Excellent work, Admiral, Higachi responded. Maintain vigilance. We don't know what other surprises the Taraxians might have in store. With the battlefield situation as stable as it could be under the circumstances, Higachi boarded an armored transport with Church and the specialized team. As they sped towards the site of the diplomatic massacre, Higachi's mind raced with the implications of what they might find. The journey to the massacre site was tense, with occasional bursts of weapons fire in the distance, serving as a reminder that the battle, while winding down, was not yet over. As they approached their destination, the landscape changed from the sleek architecture of the Taraxian capital to a more rugged, isolated terrain. We're approaching the coordinates, Church announced, his voice grim. As the transport came to a stop, Higachi was the first to exit, his weapon at the ready. The sight before them was a scene of devastation. The wreckage of the diplomatic shuttle lay scattered across a wide area, its once pristine hull now a twisted mass of scorched metal. Secure the perimeter, Higachi ordered, his voice tight with controlled anger. I want every piece of evidence cataloged and analyzed. The team spread out, their movements precise and professional. As they began their grim task, Higachi made his way to what remained of the shuttle's main cabin. The sight that greeted him there would be seared into his memory forever. The bodies of the diplomatic team lay where they had fallen, a testament to the brutality and suddenness of the Taraxian attack. Ambassador Connor Lewis, the man who had led this mission of peace, was slumped over what remained of the communications console, his final act an attempt to warn Earth of the betrayal. Higachi knelt beside his fallen comrade, a wave of emotions threatening to overwhelm him. Anger, grief, and a steely resolve warred within him. "We'll make this right, old friend," he murmured, gently closing Connor's eyes. As the team worked, piecing together the final moments of the diplomatic mission, Higachi moved through the wreckage, his trained eye picking up details that others might miss. A discarded Taraxian weapon here, an oddly pristine datapad there, each piece adding to the puzzle of what had truly transpired. "Colonel," one of the forensic experts called out, "you need to see this." Higachi made his way over to where the specialist was crouched over a piece of the shuttle's hull. "What have you found?" The specialist pointed to a series of scorch marks. "These weren't caused by standard Taraxian weapons, sir. The energy signature is... well, it's... different." Higachi's brow furrowed as he examined the marks. "Could it be related to the energy readings we detected from that underground facility?" "It's possible, sir," the specialist replied. "Whatever this weapon is, it's far beyond anything the Taraxians showed during the negotiations." This new piece of information added another layer of complexity to an already complicated situation. The Taraxians hadn't just betrayed the human diplomatic mission. They had used advanced, hidden technology to do so. As the team continued their work, meticulously gathering every scrap of evidence, Higachi's comm unit crackled to life. "Colonel," Captain Church's voice came through, urgent and tense. "We're picking up massive energy fluctuations from that underground facility. Whatever they're powering up in there, it's reaching critical levels." Higachi's mind raced, connecting the dots between the weapon signatures at the massacre site and the mysterious facility. "Understood, Captain. Prepare a strike team. As soon as we're done here, we're going to pay that facility a visit." As he gave the order, Higachi's gaze swept over the massacre site once more. The broken bodies of the diplomatic team, the scattered wreckage of their shuttle, all of it served as a grim reminder of the price of trust betrayed. But as he watched his team work, cataloging evidence and preparing to bring the truth of this atrocity to light, Higachi felt a surge of pride. This was humanity at its best, resilient, determined, and unwavering in the face of adversity. As the last of the evidence was secured, and the bodies of the fallen were prepared for transport back to Earth, Higachi stood at the center of the massacre site. The twin suns of Taraxis were setting, casting long shadows across the alien landscape. "We're done here, sir," Church reported, approaching Higachi. "All evidence has been collected and logged. We're ready to move on the underground facility." Higachi nodded, his face set in grim determination. "Then let's finish this, Captain. The Taraxians wanted a war. Let's show them exactly what humanity is capable of when pushed too far." The transport lifted off, carrying Higachi and his team towards their next objective. As they flew over the war-torn landscape of Taraxis, the colonel's mind was focused on the task ahead. The diplomatic massacre had been avenged, but the mission wasn't over yet. The transport carrying Colonel Higachi and his team soared over the war-torn landscape of Taraxis, its engines a low hum against the backdrop of distant explosions. As they approached the coordinates of the mysterious underground facility, the true extent of the Taraxian deception began to unfold before their eyes. Below, the once pristine cities gave way to sprawling industrial complexes, their design a stark contrast to the sleek architecture showcased during the diplomatic visits. Plumes of acrid smoke billowed from massive factories, obscuring the view and leaving an oppressive haze hanging in the air. "My God," Captain Church muttered, his face pressed against the viewport. "This isn't the Taraxis they showed us." Higachi's jaw tightened as he surveyed the scene. "No, it's not. Bring us in low, pilot. I want a closer look." As the transport descended, the grim reality of Taraxian society came into sharp focus. Crowds of emaciated figures scurried between the hulking industrial structures, their movements frantic and fearful. It was a far cry from the utopian image the Taraxian leaders had presented during the negotiations. "Sir," one of the soldiers called out, "I'm picking up multiple distress signals. They're coming from the Taraxians themselves." Higachi's mind raced, piecing together the horrifying truth. This isn't just a betrayal of our diplomatic mission. It's a betrayal of their own people. The transport touched down in a clearing near one of the larger complexes. As the team disembarked, they were immediately confronted by the acrid stench of industrial waste and the distant sound of machinery. "Secure the perimeter," Higachi ordered, his voice tight with controlled anger. "Church, you're with me. Let's see what we're dealing with here." As they advanced, the true horror of the situation became apparent. What they had initially mistaken for factories were, in fact, massive labor camps. Taraxians of all ages were crammed into squalid conditions, forced to work on what appeared to be reverse-engineered human technology. A commotion near one of the structures caught Higachi's attention. A group of Taraxian workers had noticed their approach and were making frantic gestures, their eyes wide with a mixture of fear and desperate hope. "Colonel," Church said, his voice low, "I think they're trying to surrender." Higachi nodded, his mind racing to adapt to this unexpected development. "Lower your weapons," he ordered his team, "but stay alert. This could be a trap." As they approached the group of Taraxians, one of them stumbled forward, falling to his knees before Higachi. The alien's body was gaunt, bearing the marks of prolonged abuse and malnutrition. "Please," the Taraxian rasped in broken English, "help us. We are not enemies. We are prisoners." Higachi knelt down, meeting the alien's gaze. In those multifaceted eyes, he saw a reflection of the same fear and desperation he had witnessed in the eyes of oppressed beings across the galaxy. "You're safe now," Higachi said, his voice firm but compassionate. "We're not here to harm civilians. Can you tell us what's happening here?" The Taraxian story poured out in a rush of words, painting a picture of a society divided. The ruling class, a small elite of Taraxians, had kept the majority of the population in ignorance and slavery. The diplomatic mission from Earth had been seen as a threat to their power, prompting the brutal betrayal. As more Taraxians gathered around, their initial fear giving way to cautious hope, Higachi turned to Church. "Captain, I want medical teams here ASAP, and get me a direct line to Admiral Mitchell. The parameters of this operation just changed dramatically." While Church coordinated with the orbiting fleet, Higachi continued to gather information from the liberated Taraxians. A pattern emerged. Similar labor camps were scattered across the planet, all focused on replicating and weaponizing human technology. "Sir," Church called out, returning from his communication with the fleet, "Admiral Mitchell has been updated on the situation. He's redirecting our forces to focus on liberating these camps and securing any weapons derived from our tech." Higachi nodded, his mind already formulating a new strategy. "Good. But our primary objective remains unchanged. We need to find that underground facility and the Taraxian leadership. They have a lot to answer for." As if in response to his words, a deafening rumble shook the ground. In the distance, a massive structure began to rise from beneath the surface, dwarfing the surrounding buildings. "That's it," Higachi breathed, his eyes fixed on the emerging colossus. "That's where we'll find our answers." The team regrouped, joined now by a contingent of liberated Taraxians who had volunteered to guide them through the complex network of tunnels and facilities that honeycombed the planet's surface. As they made their way toward the looming structure, evidence of the Taraxian leaders' treachery mounted. Abandoned research labs revealed half-finished prototypes of weapons based on stolen human designs. Data centers held terabytes of information siphoned from Earth's networks during the seemingly peaceful negotiations. "They were planning this all along," Church growled, his fists clenched in anger. "The diplomatic mission was just a cover to get closer to our tech." Higachi's response was cut short by a sudden burst of weapons fire. A squad of Taraxian elite guards had emerged from a hidden entrance, their advanced armor a stark contrast to the rags worn by the laborers. "Take cover," Higachi shouted, diving behind a fallen pillar as energy bolts sizzled through the air. The ensuing firefight was intense but brief. The human soldiers, their skills honed by countless battles across the stars, made short work of the Taraxian guards. But the encounter left no doubt. They were close to their target, and the Taraxian leadership was desperate. As the last echoes of the battle faded, one of the liberated Taraxians approached Higachi, pointing toward a nondescript wall. "There," he said, his voice quivering with a mixture of fear and excitement. "Hidden entrance, leaders inside." Higachi nodded, turning to his team. "This is it. Whatever's on the other side of that wall is the key to this whole mess. Church, get the breaching charges ready." As the explosives were set, Higachi addressed his soldiers. "Remember, we want the leadership alive if possible. They need to answer for their crimes, not just against us, but against their own people." The charges detonated with a thunderous roar, tearing a gaping hole in the reinforced wall. Through the smoke and debris, Higachi and his team surged forward, weapons at the ready. The scene that greeted them was one of organized chaos. Taraxian leaders scrambled to destroy evidence, their panicked movements a far cry from the composed diplomats who had greeted the human delegation weeks earlier. "Freeze!" Higachi's voice boomed through the chamber, amplified by his suit's speakers. "By the authority of the United Earth Directorate, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity and your own species." For a moment, it seemed as if the Taraxian leaders might resist, but faced with the unwavering resolve of Higachi and his team, their will crumbled. One by one, they raised their hands in surrender. As his soldiers moved to secure the prisoners, Higachi's attention was drawn to a massive holographic display dominating the center of the room. It showed a vast network of data flows, all converging on a central point, Earth. "Sir," Church called out, his voice tight with controlled anger, "you need to see this." Higachi moved to where Church stood, examining a series of documents spread across a console. As he read, the full extent of the Taraxian leader's plan became clear. The diplomatic mission had been more than just a cover for stealing human technology. It was part of a grand scheme to infiltrate Earth's defenses, using the stolen tech to create a backdoor into humanity's most secure systems. The Taraxians had planned to subjugate not just their own people, but the entire human race. "They were going to use our own weapons against us," Higachi murmured, his voice barely above a whisper, "while pretending to be our allies." The words hung in the air, each syllable a blade cutting deeper into the collective resolve. For soldiers who had fought battles across the stars, this wasn't just treachery. It was an affront to everything they stood for. Trust and cooperation, the bedrock of galactic diplomacy, had been twisted into tools for manipulation. The revelation hit harder than any enemy fire, leaving them grappling not just with strategy, but with the sheer audacity of the betrayal. As Higachi continued to sift through the evidence, more details of the Taraxian plot came to light. Blueprints for massive war machines, powered by reversed-engineered human technology. Plans for biological weapons designed to target human physiology. Strategies for infiltrating Earth's government and military structures. "They've been planning this for years," Church said, his voice a mix of awe and disgust. "Long before we ever made contact." Higachi nodded grimly. "And they nearly succeeded. If we hadn't uncovered their betrayal when we did..." He left the thought unfinished, the weight of its implications settling heavily over the room. The narrow escape from catastrophe was not lost on anyone present, each acutely aware of how close humanity had come to disaster. The weight of the moment lingered only briefly before the urgency of the present took hold. Across the fleet, commands were issued, orders relayed, and the wheels of humanity's relentless resolve began to turn. In the wake of victory, a new challenge loomed, one that demanded swift action and unwavering conviction. The acrid smell of ozone and burning circuitry filled the air as Colonel Higachi surveyed the captured Taraxian leadership. Their once ornate robes were now tattered and singed, a fitting metaphor for their crumbled empire of lies. "Secure the prisoners," Higachi ordered, his voice cutting through the chaos. "And initiate Protocol Omega. I want every scrap of data in this facility transmitted to the Sentinel's watch." As his team moved with practiced efficiency, Higachi's comm unit crackled to life. Admiral Mitchell's voice came through, tense but controlled. "Colonel, The orbital bombardment has ceased. Ground teams report all major military installations have been neutralized. Understood, Admiral. We've apprehended the Taraxian leadership and uncovered evidence that will shake the foundations of the Galactic Council. Prepare for immediate data upload. A brief pause followed before Mitchell responded. Acknowledged, Colonel. I'm redirecting our forces now to focus only on humanitarian efforts. The scale of Taraxian suffering, we will help them, Colonel. Higachi's jaw clenched at the grim news. Roger that. I'm heading to the surface to coordinate the liberation efforts personally. Have our xenobiologists and medical teams ready for deployment. As Higachi ended the communication, he turned to Captain Church. Captain, oversee the prisoner transfer and data extraction. I want them in secure holding on the Sentinel's watch within the hour. Church nodded, his expression grim but determined. Consider it done, sir. What's our next move? We show the Taraxian people that humanity stands for more than just retribution. It's time to turn this war into a rescue mission. Higachi made his way to the surface, emerging from the underground complex into a scene of controlled chaos. The sky was filled with human ships, their holds opening to reveal mountains of supplies and medical equipment. On the ground, soldiers worked alongside newly liberated Taraxians, setting up aid stations and temporary shelters. As Higachi moved through the crowd, he was struck once again by the stark contrast between the emaciated Taraxian laborers and the few well-fed overseers who had been caught in the human assault. The divide between the oppressors and the oppressed was painfully clear. At one of the aid stations, Higachi paused to observe a human medic treating a group of Taraxian children. Their large, multifaceted eyes were wide with a mixture of fear and cautious hope as the medic gently tended to their wounds. "How are they doing?" Higachi asked, his voice softening. The medic looked up, fatigue etched on his face. "Physically, they're responding well to treatment, but the psychological trauma, that's going to take time, sir." Higachi nodded, kneeling down to meet the gaze of one of the children. "You're safe now," he said softly, his words translated by his suit's systems. The child's large, luminous eyes glimmered with a mix of fear and hope, and a faint shimmer on its tattered robe reflected the light. Higachi offered a reassuring smile, hoping the gesture would bridge the gap between their species. As he continued his tour of the liberation efforts, Higachi's comm unit buzzed constantly with updates. Human forces had secured the last of the hidden weapon caches. Engineers were working to repurpose the labor camps into temporary housing. Scientists were collaborating with the few free Taraxian scholars they had found, piecing together the true history and culture that had been suppressed for generations. Finally, Higachi reached the central plaza of the Taraxian capital. A makeshift stage had been erected, and thousands of freed Taraxians had gathered. Their faces were a sea of conflicting emotions: relief, fear, uncertainty, and hope. Taking a deep breath, Higachi stepped onto the stage. The crowd fell silent, all eyes fixed on the human who had led the force that had both conquered and liberated their world. Colonel Higachi stood before the gathered Taraxians, his stance firm and resolute. The crowd fell silent as he began to speak, his words translated and broadcast across the area. "What happened here was a betrayal on a cosmic scale," Higachi declared, his voice carrying a mix of anger and determination. "Your leaders didn't just deceive humanity. They enslaved their own people while plotting devastation across the stars, but their reign ends today." A wave of murmurs swept through the crowd, a blend of shock, anger, and cautious hope rippling through the assembled Taraxians. Higachi continued, his tone softening slightly. "We came here as potential allies, and that offer remains. Our mission now is to help you rebuild and to bring those responsible to justice. The chains that bound you are broken." As he spoke, the screens around the area flickered to life, showing scenes of human forces in action. Soldiers distributed supplies to emaciated Taraxians. Medics tended to the injured and sick. Engineers were already at work, transforming the grim labor camps into livable shelters. "The path ahead is challenging," Higachi acknowledged, his gaze sweeping across the sea of alien faces. "The scars run deep, and healing will take time. But you're not alone in this fight. We stand with you, ready to forge a future that outshines the dark plans your former leaders had in store. As Higachi concluded his address, a roar of approval swept through the crowd. Taraxians surged forward, reaching out to touch the human who had brought them liberation. As the crowd's roar subsided, Higachi swiftly returned to the task at hand. He tapped his comm unit. "Captain Church, status report on the prisoner transfer." "All secured, sir," Church's voice crackled through. "The Taraxian leadership is aboard the transport vessel, locked down in the high-security hold. We're ready for departure on your command." Higachi nodded, his eyes scanning the area one last time. "Excellent work, Captain. Prepare for immediate launch. I'm on my way." Before heading to the shuttle, Higachi opened a secure channel to Admiral Mitchell aboard the Sentinel's watch. "Admiral, the prisoners are secured and ready for transport. I'll be accompanying them back to Earth to handle the necessary paperwork and ensure a smooth handover to the authorities." Mitchell's voice came through, clear and authoritative. "Understood, Colonel. I'll take charge of the remaining operations here on Taraxis. We'll continue the humanitarian efforts and maintain security. Safe journey, and well done." "Thank you, Admiral. I leave Taraxis in capable hands," Higachi replied, ending the transmission. With efficient strides, Higachi made his way through the throng of Taraxians and human soldiers. As he approached the waiting shuttle, he turned to his second-in-command. "Major, you'll be coordinating with Admiral Mitchell. Continue with the humanitarian efforts and maintain security. I expect regular updates to be sent to the Admiral." "Understood, sir," the Major replied, saluting crisply. The shuttle's engines roared to life as Higachi boarded. Within minutes, they were ascending through Taraxis' atmosphere, the scarred surface of the planet falling away beneath them. As they approached the Sentinel's watch, the massive orbital station loomed before them. The shuttle docked smoothly, and Higachi made his way to the command center. Captain Church greeted him as he entered. "Colonel, all evidence has been secured and the transport vessel is ready for departure." Higachi nodded, his gaze fixed on the view screen showing the planet below. "Very well. Give the order, Captain. Let's bring these criminals to justice." Church relayed the command, and they watched as the transport vessel detached from the Sentinel's watch. Its engines flared to life, pushing it away from the station and towards the jump point. In a flash of light, the transport disappeared into faster-than-light travel, carrying Higachi, the Taraxian leaders, and the damning evidence towards Earth and the impending trial that would shake the foundations of galactic politics. Hey there again. I'm glad you've come so far. Hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to hit the like button and the subscribe button. This is really important to the channel. Really important. And I have one more thing for you. I've chosen another video for you to watch. Just click the card here, or here if you want the whole playlist. See you there.